Welcome to week 5 of TD Cultural Lab Art Entrepreneur 101. Tonight we are going to learn about artist statement. My name is Jacqueline and I am the Creative Director and Strategist at the Mississauga Arts Council. The webinar is part of our TD Cultural Lab Professional Development webinar series presented by Mississauga Arts Council and sponsored by the TD Bank Group. The Mississauga Arts Council is a registered charity dedicated to fostering the growth of the arts sector by cultivating creative opportunities and connections between artists and residents of Mississauga and beyond. MAC is dedicated to providing service-based programming to artists, funding artist-led programs, and growing awareness of the arts to build a vibrant and thriving cultural community. The Mississauga Arts Council acknowledges that the land on which we gather is part of the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee, the Wyandot Nation. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land and give our respect to these peoples and their ancestors who have been inhabitants and caretakers of this land since time immemorial. We also recognize that Mississauga is now home to many global Indigenous peoples. All right. So let's get started. On today's agenda, we're going to cover what is an artist statement, anatomy of an artist statement, examples and templates, as well as best practices and tips. So what is an artist statement? I really want you to imagine yourself looking into the mirror. It is a reflection of yourself. It's also written in your own words. This will help the general public, the audience, get to know who you are at a personal and intimate level of what you do and in your craft. It's always written in first person, while artist bios are written in third person. Both are very important. They are essential tools that represent you and your practice. So when I say first person, you are speaking to them, to your audience, rather than you are speaking at them. And with an artist statement, you should always craft it in a very professional and yet authentic tone. Please avoid artist jargons. They do sometimes feel a little bit high and mighty, pompous, overly grandiose, because when you think about it, people generally in the public perceive and take in art very differently. So if you put in really artistic jargons, people find it really hard to relate to. So you want to refrain from doing that as much as possible. And also, don't give away too much of your work too, because art should be interpreted how others should interpret art, through their own lens, through their own opinion, through their own lens. But please also bear in mind that it's so important not to include self-deprecating languages, because that will really hurt the value of your piece and your artwork. So instead, stay positive, concise, and true to yourself. Authenticity does matter. There are many different types of artist statements. Artist statements are usually used for exhibitions, grants applications, teaching positions, fellowships, residencies, portfolios. But why have an artist statement is so important is because it will help other publicists or curators and critiques to effectively know who you are and how they can promote you and write about you and your work. So if you put in the work to create a beautiful artist statement, which we are going to learn about today, it will help others know and learn more about yourself and your work. I like to call this the 3 C's. So clarity, concise, avoid cliches, and be specific. Artist statements for individual artworks are usually 50 to 150 words. That's recommended. An artist statement for publications are a bit longer. When I say artist statement for individual artworks, they're mainly like, here's the title, the date, and then the artist statement. That's what I mean when individual artworks. Now let's talk about clarity. Clarity, as I mentioned, be authentic, right? This is actually a fundamental strategic tool that is effective throughout Every course of everything that you do, even in branding, in design, in marketing, in advertising, in socials, even in writing about yourself, right? Clarity is so important because it forces you to focus on what you do so that the target audience can immediately get what you're talking about. Be concise, right? Statements tend to be of higher quality that way because then you're demonstrating that you're hitting these key points head on. If you are convoluted in terms of like, my work is flowery, blah, 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 you're just going on and on and on, and you're not getting to the fact that you want to tell people that you are a acrylic painter, you paint on canvases. That's it. You don't want to lose them. Please avoid cliches such as, I'm inspired by the world around me. We know. You're all artists. We get it. Or, my work speaks for itself. Okay, but you need to give specific, concrete examples because people want to know about you, how you created, why you created, and what inspired you, right? So it's more effective that way. Core components, as I mentioned just before, the what, right? Subject matter and themes. Describe your main ideas, describe your themes, the questions that drive your work, the questions that inspired you, the reason behind it. A lot of artists on this call have been through hardships, faced traumas, and we use this as fuel to create work of art. And include that type of content, whether it's abstract or figurative or portraitures or landscape. Anything that you do in everyday life that you touch can be part of your subject matter and theme. So, like in the meme, like, what do you mean? People want to know. You want to look at and see what other people think. Like, what do you mean? Tell me. I want to know. Let's go to the how. These are materials, process, and techniques. Like in the meme, you say, how is that possible? Right? You want to sort of explain it to through the lens of a child, looking through rose window glasses and in complete awe at your work. And they just want to know how you create it, right? Explain your work, the materials and the tools that you use, and the methods, such as it could be digital media, acrylic, sculpture, resin. Highlight your specific skills and techniques and qualities. That is what defines how you create the work. And the why. What is the sole intent? What are the influences? What motivated you, right? And you want to articulate that through that purpose, through your writing. Think of it as very emotional. Sometimes it doesn't have to be so impactful and dramatic. The why can sometimes be just a cultural, historical context that shape how you work. It could be through religion, symbols, or even dreams, right? The why is really important. So, this is a short artist statement template that helps everyone get into the flow of writing. The what, as we said, subject matter and themes. What is the central idea or question that drives your work? Example, you can use these words exactly to help you write and build. I explore themes of da 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 identity and memory through etc etc. How would you describe the general content of your work? When I say general content, is such as the medium, right? Are you an abstract artist? Are you a portraiture? Are you a figurative artist? Are you a multimedia designer? Are you a multimedia artist? And how would you visually describe your artwork to someone who has never seen it, right? Think of it as a kid walking into a candy store, like, oh, what is this? How is this possible? Why? I want to know. I want to try everything. You just want to describe it. And that's what it is when people go into a gallery and see your artwork. You want to give them, well, in this case, I use large canvases, layered canvases. These are textured brushstrokes with muted tones, and then you can explain how these muted tones inspire you. Okay. Then it goes to the how, materials, process, and techniques. Example, you use acrylic, you play with wood and metal, you combine the two, you use found objects, but are there specific tools or techniques or processes that are essential to your work, right? I know as artists, it's so difficult. It's easy for us to create, pick things up and do it, but then backtracking and writing it out and be like, did I really mix sand with, resin? Try to remember it and write it down because this is part of the process. This is part of the journey. So think of it as, a sketchbook. So write those down. Like example, I use a palette knife for heavy textures, or I collage vintage photographs digitally and I print them out and then I cut them out. So it's a process that people love to know. How would you describe the visual or sensory qualities of your work? Color, texture, scale, sound? Absolutely. Example, soft gradients with sharp geometric overlays, right? And at the same time, it goes back to you're not fully giving away the secret, the magic behind what you do because you still want the audience to interpret your work. The why. What motivates you to create art? What are you trying to express or communicate? Starter sentence would be I aim to challenge perceptions of. These are really great use of words and languages. Who or what are your key influences? Was there an era? Was there a movement, personal experience, or a people, or a time, right, or a moment? Example, Bauhaus is a great movement. So, inspired by the Bauhaus movement and my grandmother's textile patterns, I create da 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 da. Are these specific symbols, or are there specific symbols or elements to your work, and what do they represent? Example, I often incorporate water motifs to symbolize renewal and change. So I urge you to use these start out sentences and structures to help you craft your artist statement for this template. Number four, you want to pull it all together. In one or two sentences, how would you summarize your artistic mission? Example, through mixed media installations, I explore the fragile relationship between nature and urban life. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I can sort of visualize this artist working in urban installations, land art. That to me says it, how I interpret it. So underneath is a really good example of what, how, and why. And breaking this down into three sections will really put it into perspective. Example, my work, my work investigates the complex relationship between memory, identity, and the natural world. Through the use of mixed media, that's a what, including discarded textiles, that's a what, found objects, oh, that's what she's doing, and recycled papers, I build layered, semi abstract compositions that evoke a sense of history and transience. Ah, okay, we've got something to work with now. So I know what she's talking about. And then it goes to, but how? Like, what does she really mean? The how. You lead people into the meat of your hamburger. How? The process of deconstruction and reconstruction of tearing apart old materials and then reassembling them into new forms serves as a metaphor of how we construct our own identities from fragments of personal experience and collective memory. Oh, interesting. My color palettes are often inspired by muted tones of aging photographs and the vibrant yet fleeting colors of a challenging landscape. And then we feed into, but why is she doing this? Well, ultimately, I do this. My goal is to create a visual language that speaks to the quiet resilience of both the human spirit and the natural world in the face of decay and transformation. So, that is a general artist statement of the piece that you will walk into a gallery, or perhaps a curator will work with you in terms of a much longer artist statement. But this is a really good head start. And then we go into individual artist statement template. It's a bit different, as you can see. The individual artist statement focuses on a specific concept, the choices, and the story behind a single small piece of your work. When we were younger, or even when we were in art school, our professors and teachers will say, write an artist statement. You write about your work and then you go, title, rainbows and flowers. And then you get to write about your piece. So basically, it's like that. It's your individual artist statement. So we'll go through the what, how, and why. And you can actually see the difference in terms of lengthwise. It's a little bit shorter for the what. So this piece titled Untitled is an exploration of nature's persistence with urban environments. That's the what. The work's foundation is a discarded blueprint from 1980s high rise, a symbol of rigid human design and forgotten history. Okay, so that's the context, that's the what. The how. I layered this with delicate ink drawings of weeds and wildflowers that I observed growing through cracks in the sidewalk. The contrast between the stark architectural lines of blueprint and organic, meandering forms of floral highlights the tension between man made structures and the relentless force of nature. So, this piece is really specific. It has a specific concept, right? It has a longer story behind it because you're talking about this specific individual piece of artwork. Now, by using gold leaf, the why I'm doing this, because by using gold leaf to eliminate the tiny plant life, I elevate these often overlooked species, suggesting that true beauty in life can be found in the most unexpected and seemingly inhospitable places. I'm not going to go through this page, but it has really, really, really good key themes and concepts and first draft excerpts from artist, and then how it's edited into versions, and then it goes into improvements and notes and different use of words. So this page is a great page that I urge you to read at your own times and really pull it out as a valuable resource because they have really, really good art languages that are not overly grandiose or pompous. Gallery artist statement template. So this is also very different, right? Paragraph one, they say thesis statement. I'm not sure why, but it's typically condensed into a really short one, like an elevator pitch, you can say. So the opening paragraph is typically, as I said, 1 to 3 lines. It should be short. It's going to incorporate the what, why, your intention, and sometimes how of your process work. So elevator pitch very quickly in the first paragraph. So, for example, my body of work combines the what, photography, and original writing to investigate. How is to investigate the themes of time and memory. I see. And then it goes under paragraph two, forms, influences. This paragraph dedicates a few lines to describing your materials, how you utilize them, and then you can briefly mention artistic influences. If you want, it really depends on um, which gallery is it and what the theme of the gallery is, right? Then you can explain how that corresponds to your piece of work. This paragraph also concludes by describing specific examples of work and how it embodies the previous statement. Paragraph three is your conclusion and your future. It allows people to look forward to potentially a next in progress show. So this concluding paragraph should tie together the ideas from the preceding other paragraphs. It also offers, as I mentioned, a highlighting opportunities for upcoming events and projects and future exhibitions. So then we go into the example. I always have an example ready for you guys. My work explores the intersection of memory decay and the natural world. Through a process of layering and erasers, I seek to capture the fleeting beauty of moments that have passed and the quiet resilience of objects left behind. I am particularly drawn to the subtle textures and muted colors of weathered surfaces, rusted metals, peeling paint, and the delicate patterns of moss on stone. These elements, often overlooked, become the central focus of my visual language. In this series, Echoes of Past, I utilize a variety of mixed media, including salvaged paper, natural pigments, and found objects. Very precise. Like I said, 1 to 2, 3 sentences. How? I begin with each piece by building a complex foundation, creating history for the work before I even begin to paint. It's a really great nod to behind the scenes of your process. This process of building up and breaking down mirrors is the way that memories are formed, layered, distorted, and eventually transformed. And the why, the resulting compositions are abstract landscapes that invite the viewer to look closer, to find beauty in imperfection, and to contemplate the stories that lie just beneath the surface. My intent is to create a space for quiet reflection where the viewer can connect with the subtle poetry of time and enduring spirit of forgotten things. So, even with this gallery artist statement alone, I can literally visualize the space being very big, very quiet, with a couple of ambient lights on a particular piece, just shining it down on a painting or even a sculpture, or it could even be an archival book, right? That in itself allows the curator to understand the visual that you want to convey and the language that you want people to walk through in a gallery space, especially the last part, right? My intent is to create a space for quiet reflection where the viewer can connect with the subtle poetry of time and the enduring spirit of forgotten things. That's so lovely. And as usual, this is another page that's just dedicated and riddled with really, really good, juicy words and goodness. So please look through this when you receive it. It's really good. It also breaks down the primary focus of the artist. Like it goes to sculptures, silkscreen artists, ceramist, painter, glass artist, multimedia artist, installation artist, etc. And then also what makes the statement effective is really good. So, best practices slash tips. Have a friend interview you and ask questions about your work. Yeah, it's always easier when you have someone ask you questions. When you're just sitting on yourself and you need to talk about yourself as an artist, you're like, ooh, I don't know. I just want to make art. Or you can just record an audio. And that might help. Encourage everyone to read the statements or writings of other artists, follow them online. Um, just always follow your artists that inspire you. Go to their shows, support one another, go to these exhibitions because they matter. Um, yeah, so thank you. And that is it.